What's up YouTube? My name is Chris Chevier, and today I'm going to be explaining to you guys what it's like mining with 3060s and some issues I've come across and some misconceptions I've seen online about these cards and just some general info on what it's like mining with 3060s. So both 3060s that I'm currently mining with are the non-LHR variants of the cards. I am running a MSI Ventus 2X 3060. This one is great. It has two fans on it. I have no issues with heat or anything with that card. But this next one is the ASUS Phoenix RTX 3060, and this is the single fan one. And that one I do have some thermal issues with. So I haven't replaced the pads on it yet or anything like that, but I noticed midday when it's hot outside and it's decently hot in here because the AC hasn't been running like all morning, it does tend to get up to about 55 degrees Celsius, and it does start to actually thermal throttle and drop in MegaHash. So right now it is thermal throttling at 55 degrees Celsius, and we're getting only 46.90 out of the ASUS Phoenix. The MSI one is currently doing 49.14 MegaHash, and that one is not thermal throttling. That one's only at 40 degrees on that one. So yeah, I just wanted to discuss some misconceptions and things I've been seeing online about pertaining to mining with these cards, and I just wanted to debunk a few myths and that kind of stuff. So first of all, let's talk about the actual cards themselves. Got the ASUS Phoenix single fan cooler. It's very compact, however it is kind of long vertically. I've noticed it takes up almost 3 PCIe slots, whereas the MSI one only takes up 2. And that's because you can see the cooler is extended because it's a narrower version of the cooler. So yeah, make sure you're getting non-LHR cards if you're going to mine with these, obviously. I was able to pick this ASUS Phoenix up for $550, which was a steal because it honestly does produce quite a bit of MegaHash, even when it's thermal throttling, and it's well worth it for how much power you use. Both of these cards are only running at 118 watts with my overclock, so very good compared to my old rig, which had a bunch of 1080 Ti's. Those were pulling around 200 watts per card, whereas this is basically 200 watts for double the amount of MegaHash. So definitely better for power consumption than a 1080 Ti in my opinion, and they're both around pretty much the same price. So instead of buying a 1080 Ti, maybe you should buy a couple of these. But keep watching the video because there is some ifs and thens and do's and don'ts with these cards, and you will see. So next up we got the MSI Ventus 2X. This is the dual fan cooler. Great card, runs super efficient. Honestly, if you could pick up a ton of these, I would suggest getting these over the ASUS any day. Although the ASUS was cheaper, so let's say you get a good deal on a bunch of ASUS ones, I would do that, but just make sure you get like proper cooling, because those ones, the ASUS ones, do tend to thermal throttle somehow, even though it's only at 55 degrees Celsius. But yeah, so I would go MSI if you could, or anything with at least 2 coolers if you can. But if you get these ASUS ones or single fan ones at a steal, then why not grab it, right? 550 bucks for almost 50 MegaHash, I'll take that any day. So next up, let's get to the PCIe slots and why these are so important with these cards. So this information that I'm about to give to you is pertaining to Windows mining only. So if you're using like NiceHash or a miner inside Windows, this is going to pertain to you. So I am running the Z97X Gaming 7 motherboard, and that has 3 PCIe x 16 slots. However, the top one is a full 16x slot. The second one, which my single fan card is plugged into, That one is only a ×8 slot. So I've learned you need at least a ×8 slot if you're mining with Windows. So my top one is a full 16x slot, but once I have something in there, it converts it to a ×8 slot and also makes the one below it a ×8 slot as well. And then the third one turns into a ×4 slot if both of those are used. So I tried putting a third 3060 down here in the third slot, and I was not getting what I wanted. I was only getting about 26 mega hash when I did that. So not very good if you want to use a bunch of these cards on an Intel or regular Ryzen like 5 motherboard or anything like that. You need to make sure you have at least 2 8x slots if you want to mine with at least 2 cards. So that's the downside here. I'm finding that most Intel and most Ryzen 5, Ryzen 3 motherboards only support 2 slots technically on the motherboard that will actually support enough bandwidth for these cards to go through. But I've also heard that that is not true with Hive OS. I've heard with Hive OS you can still use risers. I've heard you can also use any slot you want, so you could plug the riser into a ×1 slot if you wanted to and still be able to mine at full potential, but that's only if you're not using Windows. So if you're using Windows, you need that full 16x slot, and it needs to be at least ×8 speed. If you don't know what your slot is, go to your manufacturer's website for your motherboard, go to the support section, and you will find a download for the manual. And then you just need to go into, I believe it'll be like peripherals or PCIe slots or expansion slots. You'll find the information for that somewhere in there. Also, sometimes it's in the manual by the, when you're installing your M.2, it'll have instructions, and those M.2 instructions will also tell you which PCIe lanes will be inactive and stuff like that. So, so now that we got PCIe slots covered, just remember you need at least a ×8 slot. So let's say though you want to get like a server motherboard or a Ryzen motherboard, like a Threadripper. So Threadrippers allow a ton more PCIe lanes, so you can put more cards in them. I think some Threadripper motherboards have up to 3 ×16 slots, and those are full 16x slots. So I'm guessing it'll probably have at least one extra PCIe ×8 slot in there as well. So you can probably, with a Threadripper motherboard, run potentially up to 4 3060's. So it all depends if it supports those ×8 slots though. So just keep that in mind when you're purchasing these cards for a big build or something like that. And just figure out if you want to use Windows or if you want to use an actual mining OS like Hive or, you know, NiceHash OS or something like that. So currently I'm running NiceHash. I like Windows. I like using a tablet to monitor my rigs and change settings on my rigs. So I keep it Windows. A lot of people give me shit for that, but I'm keeping it on Windows because that works for me. I know Windows very well, rather as opposed to me going and learning Hive OS from scratch and not really knowing what the hell I'm doing. I'd rather just make money now on Windows. So give me shit all you want, but it's what I chose to do. But currently I'm running the 3060's. I could only get 2 in here because this board only supports 2 ×8 slots. And I also have a 2080 down there ripping as well along with it. So now that we've covered that, let's go to the HDMI dummy issue. So some of you may have been hearing that you need what's called an HDMI dummy in order for these cards to run. And yes, you do need something plugged into the HDMI slot. Currently in one of my cards, I do have an HDMI dummy in there. And then in the other one, I just have a straight up HDMI cable which runs to my external monitor that I use for recording. Don't even have a battery in it, so there's no power on the monitor technically, but just because I have it plugged in, it's giving me the full mega hash readout. So as you can see here, 46 mega hash and 48 on the 3060's. So now let's go ahead and unplug this. So I'm technically unplugging the dummy HDMI right now. That's what I just did. And now we'll see our mega hash just drop. So 45, it already went down 2 mega hash. Yep. So that is now 30.12. So we have dropped almost 20 mega hash just because this cable isn't plugged in. So now I'll go plug this cable back in. Let's plug back in, and then I just set it on my rig like that. And we'll watch it go right back up again. Boom, so we're at 37 mega hash now. Going back up. And boom, back to 46.83 mega hash. So that dummy HDMI really does matter, guys. I can't stress it enough. You really do need that dummy HDMI, or you can do a little setup like I did. Just plug in an HDMI into something, and it usually works. Now I've noticed if you plug it into like an actual monitor, sometimes it won't work unless you're actually on the HDMI setting. So it really just depends on the hardware you're plugging it into. I don't know why it works on some and why it doesn't on some. Not really sure, but yeah. So once you got the PCIe lanes figured out and you've got your HDMI dummy plugged in, then all you have to do is install the driver. And the driver is the 4700.05 driver from NVIDIA. If you need the driver, I'll put it in the description of this video. So just click the link below and you'll be able to download it probably directly from my website. If not, I'll have a mega upload link or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So mining with 3060s is not as bad as people make it out to be. All you need is those ×8 slots and an HDMI dummy, and you just need to download the correct driver and you're set. So if you guys got any more questions or comments or have anything pertaining to 3060s or this rig in general, just leave a comment down there below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.